welcome to the Michelle G Show. I'm your host, Michelle G, and I welcome you to the first show of 2020. I am super excited about the show we have today. We're going to be discussing a book from a new author, and we're going to be talking about life. And sometimes in life, you get dealt a hand that you weren't expecting, but you have to learn how to deal with the hand you're dealt. My guest today is Miss Pam Adams. I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, and then I'm going to bring her. We're going to take a quick break, and I'm going to bring her on. Pam Adams was born and raised in a small town called Great Falls, South Carolina. She is a mother of three, a grandmother of one, the author of The Hand I Was Dealt. Pam is a child of God, a phenomenal woman who is very passionate about her work and takes a lot of pride in everything she does. She is excited about being on the show today. She grew up, from her bio, I understand that she had a normal middle-class childhood, which left her a little bit spoiled. I want to talk to her about that and then go from there and see what hand she was dealt after her childhood. So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to be joined with my guest today, Miss Pam Adams. Told you if I felt like I was going to say it wrong. And I almost said Miss Adams.
That would have been fun.
Yeah. Welcome back to the Michelle G Show. As you can see, I am joined by my guest, Miss Pam Adams, and we're going to jump right into the discussion because you guys know that when we get to talking, that time goes by really, really fast. And I really want to get deep into more of Miss Adams' life, what we didn't talk about in her bio. Thank you for joining me, Miss Adams.
You're more than welcome, Miss Michelle. Thank you very much for having me. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you. I want to jump right into the discussion because we're going to talk about your book a little bit later, but I want to jump into the discussion about just from your bio. I read that you had a normal middle class early childhood. And then, it said that, at the end of your bio, which I didn't mention earlier, but it did say that you wanted to, help people through your book heal. Mm-hmm. Now, in between that gap, something must have taken place. And from my understanding, we're going to dive right into it, holding nothing back. You were married at a very young age.
Yes, that's correct. I got married at 21, young age. At 21, I felt that I should have been somewhere in college. That wasn't my case. I fell in love with a gentleman that was a little older than I was, and he asked me to marry him after about a year or so, and got married at 21. Time went on with the marriage. We went on our little honeymoon. After the 7-day honeymoon was over, we went to Jamaica, had a ball, ship, limo, everything. All of that was great. After that, came back home to what they call reality. That's when reality hit, when you sit down and you got to do those bills and you got kids and a job.
Yes.
All that commotion going on at the same time, and you're still trying to, maintain what it is to be husband and wife at 21. And so about 6 years into my marriage, things started going downhill. And I always would hear people say, you don't do divorce. And I'm like, I'm 26. I'm a divorce if I want a divorce, not knowing,
Yes.
what life was really about. And then so I was 26, about to turn 27. That's when my divorce started. That's when the marriage took a turn for the worse. And to me, as I always say, if I had God then, like I have Him now, I would be in a better situation. And people don't realize that if you don't have God in your life, in that circle, nothing is going to hold together.
And see, I'm glad that you said that because a lot of times, like you said, people told you that we don't do divorce. I heard that all my whole life growing up. We don't do divorce, so they expected for you to stay in what wasn't good for you
Right,
because of what they think you should do. You
right.
have to once you get married, you have to stay married, and the fact that you mentioned God, that goes hand in hand because, like you said, had you had God to be, had you known God like you know Him now,
Correct.
then you would have known that He wasn't the one.
That's right.
You would have known that He wasn't the one. So, a lot of people fail to realize that God is essential in everything we do.
Everything, not some things, but everything. And I didn't take heed to that at 21. I just thought, oh, because there was a man that told me that he loves me. Oh, I'm getting ready to have a big wedding. They coming to see me. Everything was smooth. Not knowing when that hard time really hit, what am I supposed to do? Didn't know the power of prayer. Didn't know that a family that prays together stays together.
Yeah.
Didn't know that then. Now, oh, you can't tell me nothing, 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 nothing. It's all God in everything I do.
And I want to ask you, going from that, what was it? How did you find that relationship with God? Because like you said, you got married at a young age, and at 21, you're really just starting to know yourself and figure out. I mean, because my 20s were really wild. My 20s was, whew, they were wild, and my 30s, they were kind of, it was only
Just
until,
shaking.
yeah, they were, kind of say it was only until my early 30s that I started to settle down and really say, okay. But at 21, to be married and have to deal with all, you know what I mean, all that, that's a lot at 21 because
Yes.
you're just really finding yourself.
Yes.
And once you get the divorce, what was it that led you to that relationship that you have with God?
Um, what really led me to the relationship with God was, back in our earlier childhood times when your grandmother used to say, okay, now if you go to that game or if you go out Sunday, you got to get up and go to church. You did that as a routine to please grandma, or you did that to please mama so they wouldn't fuss. So as life went on and I started having my own children, and once I did get married, once I did go through a divorce, and it seemed like when I was trying to do things on my own, everything failed. Everything failed. And I had to sit down and I was like, okay, God, something has got to change. And I can hear him in my mind saying, it's you. I'm waiting on you to accept me. In everything that I do now, I have to lean and depend on Jesus, because if not, nothing is going to work. And I done been down that slope. And at this point in my life, if the Lord spares me, I'll be 40. There's nothing left for me to do but go up.
Listen, listen. And you know what? And as you say 40, I'm like, oh, now you're a baby. Yeah, but I can honestly say
Yes.
my 40s have been the best years of my life.
Awesome.
My 40s have been the best years of my life because I've gone through that wild phase. I've gone through that figuring out who I am. Now I know who I am. I'm secure in who I am. And now I'm just living.
That's it.
I'm just living. And one thing that you just said that stuck with me was how you said when you were younger, you went to church and you can go out and party, but you better be up Sunday morning ready to go to church.
Yes, because grandma was coming in there knocking on that door
Yeah.
asking you if you ready.
And even though you did it as tradition, because I was the same way. We did it as tradition, but it laid that foundation.
It did. I love church. I can go to church service in the morning. They can have their evening service, and I turn around and go right back at night service. I love the Lord. And I went to a service one time, and the pastor said, if you're sitting beside someone and they looking at you like it don't take all that, or you don't need to be shouting that loud, or you don't need to be praising the Lord that loud, but you don't know what that person has been through.
Exactly.
You don't know what God has delivered that person from.
Exactly.
So if I'm in your way, I'm shouting too loud, I suggest you move over to another seat.
Listen. That's the way I am, because you never know what a person has been through. Don't judge a person's
That's
praise.
it. That
You
is
can't
it. You
judge a person's
cannot.
praise.
You
And a lot of
cannot.
times we get stuck in, it may not take all that for you, but it took all that and then some for me to get where I am.
Yes.
So if I'm over here jumping and shouting and about to jump a hole in the floor, then you let me jump.
That's
And
it.
like you said, if I'm disturbing you, then you can move your
Move
seat.
over.
But it's
Move
not going to
over.
stop me from
Mm-mm.
praising God. And
No.
it's amazing how what was tradition laid that foundation to where you knew, even though you had went through the divorce and had to face now this thing, you got this cards that you're holding. Okay, I'm 26 years old. I've been married, divorced, have children. You got this hand. You knew how to shuffle the cards, and you knew to come to God
That's it. That was my only source, because man would let you down every time.
every time.
Every time. All them promises and false hope. I didn't have time for it, and I had 3 kids.
Now, what was it? What was the reality? I'm going to take this from your bio. What was the reality shock that hit you in the face when you came from being an only child and being spoiled to, I got bills to pay, I got responsibilities? What was that shock like?
That shock was when, let me see when it happened. After my divorce, and I was riding down the road, and I had to ask myself, you're going through a divorce. The house that you had, where are you going to stay now? You have 3 kids. And you know, they say 2 grown women can't stay in the house together. So that's me and my mama. Being the only child, bumping heads, and I got 3 kids, we couldn't do that. So at that time, at 26, going into my 27th birthday, I had to realize that you're a grown woman. You have 3 kids. You have people that you have to defend. It's not just you. You can't go out here and be wilding and partying. You know, you have 3 children that's watching you. So by the time I turned 27, I was ready.
Was that a hard pill to swallow?
That was a hard pill to swallow. And every day I teach and preach to my kids. Okay, keep talking. You're going to be grown one day and you're going to be crying to come back home. Because once you get out there in that real world and them bills hit, you're going to wish you was at home.
Because they don't realize that. And my son, even now he's 17, he'll be graduating in June.
Oh, wow.
And yes, my last one, and he'll be graduating in June. I'm kind of ready, but then I'm not, because he's my baby, you know. But now I'm a nana now, so I have my little grandbaby. But he's getting ready to graduate. He's well, I'm gonna get I'm getting an apartment. I hear him and his girlfriend talking, right? I'm gonna get an apartment, and we're gonna do this, and him and his girlfriend talking, and I'm sitting in there thinking to myself, you don't even clean your room. You don't have no responsibility of paying your bill. You don't cook. And I'm thinking to myself, you got this big ideal of what the world is. And then he has his sister my daughter who lives with me, and she says, yeah, you can do that, bruh. You really can. She said, but let me tell you something. That's what I thought it was going to be like when I left.
She's older than him. Oh,
She's
okay.
22. She said, that's what I thought it was going to be like when I left. She said, but you're not ready for that world. She said, because she said, the way you talk now and the way we know you are, it's going to eat you up.
Yes, that world is dangerous.
It's dangerous. And I'm trying to get him to understand, son, it's not, it's good until that bill come and you got to pay it.
And that check show up.
And that check show up, and that check is not what that check is not even enough to pay all these bills that you have.
Nope. They thinking they got it made. Now all I got is a cell phone. Or I'm going there, I'm going to get me some J's for $220.
And he loves his shoes. And he loves his shoes.
It's going to be different when that apartment rent come on the 3rd of each month.
Listen, and that's what you had to find out at almost 27 years old with 3 children.
3 children. 3 children. So I had rent, lights, car payment, car insurance, 3 kids, 3 pair of shoes, food, electric bill, insurance. My son had braces. I had braces. But with the grace of God, that $20 that I had stretched like it was $200. And to this day, I'm pretty sure people probably sit and they wonder, how is this girl making it with 3 kids and not married? I'm not a script. I'm not in the clubs. None of that.
Really?
3 kids. But if they don't know the power of the
God,
Lord,
listen, that's what it was. It was God.
That's all it is.
That was nobody but God.
That's all it is.
And you said you made that $20.
Look like $200. I had a job one time. I was making $7.35 an hour. Nothing got cut off and nothing got taken away.
That's God.
Nobody but God. Until he moved me to a job when I started making $18 an hour. it had to punish me and it had to make me realize to be thankful for the $7.35 that I had before he blessed me with $18.
Exactly. And people don't understand being grateful for
Yes.
where you are,
Yes.
and never despising your small beginnings.
Yes, I had
Because
to
when
learn
God
that.
sees when He realizes, okay, I appreciate what I have here.
Mhm.
I know I used to have, and you know what? I used to go back and forth with God, and I talk to God just like I'm talking to you. You know, I have this conversation with Him. I'm like, all right, now Lord, listen. You know, because that's who I am. So I'm like, okay, God. And I had this when I decided to give my life over to God, and I stopped running.
Mhm.
And it seems like when I stopped running, I made that conscious decision to live a saved life. It seemed like all hell broke loose.
Yep.
Like everything was going wrong. And I said, now, okay, God, now I made the choice. I came over here on this side, but I don't understand. Because, see, when I was in the street, I knew how my bank account stayed full.
Mhm.
My bills was paid up
Mhm.
3 and 4 months ahead, and I had money in the bank. Now my bank account stays in the negative. So I'm not understanding this.
Empty.
See, you're going to have to explain this to me. You're going to not complain. And the more I complain, the worse it got.
Yep.
And then I started saying, okay, God, He had to get me to a place where almost everything was shut off. When I was pregnant with my son, and I had to be on bed rest,
Mm.
I had my water got shut off. I had furniture. They came back and repoed it because I couldn't work. I'd already lost 2 children beforehand.
Wow.
And I was on bed rest. I couldn't work. They took all my furniture except for one old chair I had, and that's what I sat in all day and watched my soap operas. And then I went in the room and I watched Color Purple every night. I played it on replay every night. My water got shut off. I had no water the rest of my pregnancy. My neighbors behind me, I had to carry water from their house to mine. And all I could do was sit in the house and read the Bible and talk to God.
He
I
made
took
it
the
where you had
headset.
to lean on Him.
Exactly. I took the headset and I played it on my belly to my son so that he was getting the word.
Wow.
And it was then when I said, okay, God, I won't complain another time.
Mm, mm, mm,
I
mm.
thank you that I got a roof over my head.
Mm.
I don't have water, but I'm able to wash.
Nah, somebody
I'm-
brought it to you.
Somebody brought it to me.
Yes.
I said, I said, I'm not sitting on the floor. I got a chair, and it's just me and my baby.
Mm.
And I said, okay, God, I thank you. I said, God, I thank you that I got a bed to lay in.
Could've been
I
on
don't
the
have
floor.
nothing to watch. I don't have nothing to watch. I said, but you know what? I thank you for the Color Purple. Because I watched it every single night. That's what I fell asleep to, every single night. And when I began to thank God for what I did have, He began to turn things around.
That's it. That you got to be grateful for what you already had. And I had to learn that I live in an apartment, and I've been saying for the last 10 years, Lord, I'd be glad when I get a house. And I know in my mind He's saying, how are you going to be ready for a house when you're not thanking me for this apartment? How are you going to be ready for a house when you're not thanking me for this apartment? You got a 3-bedroom apartment, which you want a 3-bedroom house. You got it. It's just not on the foundation by itself. You might well say this is a 2-story house that you're living in because you got neighbors underneath you. But how are you ready for a house and you're not thankful for what you already have?
He lets you realize what He's blessed you with.
Yes, I am so blessed. People ask me every day, do you realize how blessed you are? Not only do I have one daddy, I got 2. My mother's husband has been in our life since I was 13. This man doesn't have any children. When he came, it was just me and my mother. Now it's me, my mother, my 3 kids, and my grandbaby. And then my father, my biological father, has his girlfriend that's been in his life since, I don't know how long, probably 30 years. So when I have events and I have functions, not only am I proud to look out there in the audience and see my mother and my father, as well as I don't even call him my stepfather, because he don't step on me, nor does he step on my children or my grandbaby.
I like the way you said
He
that.
loves us for who we are, and we accepted him. I'm so blessed. So blessed. I got 2 sets of parents. All my parents are alive and well. If they got something wrong with them, I don't know nothing about it. They ain't never told me nothing about it.
Listen,
But I have both of my parents.
we're going to take a quick break. And because you just touched on something, we're going to go a little bit deeper. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with the Michelle G Show. Welcome back to the Michelle G Show. I'm still here with my lovely guest, Miss Pam Adams. And just before the break, we were talking about how blessed she was. And we're talking about how oftentimes we take for granted of what we do have. We spend more time at looking at what we don't have instead of thanking God for what we do have. Because we could always be in a worse situation. And it was something that she said before the break about her stepfather, but then she don't call him stepfather. And I want you to say that again, because there's a lot of people, and I see stuff on shirts and stuff all the time. You know, a stepdad is a dad is a man who stepped up.
Mm-hmm.
But I like the way you put it, and if you could repeat that, because there's a lot of people who have those blended families.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I in my family we don't do half brother, half sister. If you my brother, you my brother.
That's right.
If you my sister, you my sister.
That's
We
right.
don't do half anything.
How
You know
do
what
you,
I mean?
how do you justify
How
the
do you,
half?
exactly? How
It's
do
half
you?
a body over there and half over there?
This is one. I don't. So we don't do that.
Mm-mm.
You know. And I like the way you said it. So can you? You know, you say that again, because I really like the way you said
Yes.
it.
My father, he's not my stepfather. He's my father because he don't step on me, nor does he step on my children, nor does he step on my grandbaby. So Robert J. Walls is my father.
I love that. And what I love
Yes.
is that people don't often see or hear about how families can blend together and come together.
Mm-hmm.
And like you said, you know, he's your father.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have a great relationship with your father and his partner, his
Mm-hmm.
girlfriend, and y'all all come together.
All together.
You
All
know?
together. Yes, ma'am. And it's wonderful. And it's so amazing when people come in and they actually see it because, you know, like the generation now, if they be like, oh, that was my husband and we got a divorce, but he's remarried, but I can't stand the wife or the wife don't like me. We can't help what happened in the past. You got him now. We have children together. We got to make this thing work because
Gotta make it
at the end of the day, we are here for the children, not what we used to do or not what we used to be. That's gone.
That's gone.
That is gone. But some people don't realize that and they don't let that type of stuff go.
And they lose sight of that, and they don't understand that in the end, you're hurting the ones who didn't have anything to do with what decision y'all
True.
made. They had nothing to do with you guys getting together. They had nothing to do with you guys splitting up.
That's right.
So why are they the ones that's suffering?
That's right.
Because the adults in their life can't be adults
Right.
and say, okay, didn't work with us, we've moved on.
Right.
You know,
They don't do
and
that.
it's beautiful. It's beautiful to see that. And the only reason I'm staying on that is because being in our culture a lot of times,
Mm-hmm.
they shine a negative light because all you see is the exes fighting and wanting, you know, because that's all they show on TV.
That's it.
That's all they show is, you know, well, the girlfriend come over here and I don't like her, you know, and all the neck rolling
Yeah,
but they don't.
Back over here. She better not put her hand on my kids. I'm their mom and they only got one mom. Yeah.
And I don't want that. I don't want my children or my son and my daughter around no other man. And
Oh,
that's all they
God.
see. So it's wonderful to see, and especially in the African American community, to see someone that is in a family that's blended and
Yes.
everybody gets along.
Yes, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. It is so beautiful. If you're having something, and you guarantee those 4 people are going to be there because they love and support you at anything that you decide to do. It's wonderful.
That's
It's
a
wonderful.
blessing.
It is. It is truly a blessing. It's funny. And I just sit back and I just look at them. When I look out in the audience, I see my mom and my dad sitting over there. And I see my dad and his girlfriend sitting over there. And I just be like, oh my God, look at them. It just be so funny.
And see, that's one of that they have so much love for you
Mm-hmm. Yes.
that whatever, if they have any differences, they don't show it.
They don't show it.
And
I
they
don't know it.
they come together because of their love for you.
Yes. They
And the
got
love
to.
for
I'm the
you.
only child. They have to. They
And see,
have
now
to.
I see the spoil part.
Yes.
The only time now I see the spoil part coming out.
Yes, yes.
I want to deal with, okay, you got married, you got divorced, you have your children, you find yourself in a position where you have, now I've got to grow up. When I was growing up and when I was little, I was spoiled.
Mhm.
I got in a marriage. I thought it was gonna be, it was gonna be easy, but then reality hit.
Hard.
Now I'm divorced, and now my reality is really hitting,
Mhm.
and I've got to grow up. So that's the hand you're dealt. You're dealt with this hand. You're learning how to make things stretch. You're learning how to do, you know what I mean? What else has taken place in your life that affected your life in a way that where you had to say, well, wait a minute. You had to take a step back. It's like, okay, I wasn't ready for this one.
Wow, that's a deep one. But that one took place March the 19th. It was almost 10 years ago, and that was my grandmother. We used to call her Bad Mama Jamma, but her name is Mary Perry.
Bad memory, Jim.
Bad Mama Jamma, that's a song, and she played that song. She was a fox. And my grandmother was, to me, old wisdom. Old wisdom, old wisdom. She always told me, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing.
That's it.
Or when I was married, and I'm like, I'm going to leave this man, I'm going to divorce this man, she said, let me tell you something. Now, that man ain't hitting you. Them bills paid. As long as you can put that key in that door and you can turn that lock, you can go in there, flick them lights on, open up that refrigerator, them children got something to eat. She said, you better go on back home. That's that old power.
Yeah.
And me and my grandmother was real close. I would go to my grandmother's house on Wednesday after school, and I would stay to Sunday. We went to bingo Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. That was my right-hand man, Mary Perry. I missed that woman. The day she died, that took everything out of me. When she died, after we buried her and everything, they called my mom and said, Diane, you better get out there, that gas sitting out there at that grave. That's where I had to talk to her at.
Yeah.
When your backbone is gone, it's like your life is over. You got to sit back and like be reborn again. Like, how am I going to make it after this person is gone? Who am I going to talk to? Who am I going to take my burdens and my problems to? It's hard when someone that you love like that really leaves you. And you can't question God because who knows best? He does. So it was my grandmother, Miss Mary Perry, Bad Mama Jamma.
And I like when you said that, and I'm going to say something on air. The reason I laughed when you said Bad Mama Jim in that song, the producer of this show loves that song.
Does she? That
And
is
she
so
plays
wonderful.
it when it's playing and she's in the room. She loves that song. That's why I smiled and looked over at the camera
She's a
because
bad Mama Jamma.
she loves that song,
That's a
and
great song.
that's what made me smile and giggle about it. But it's hard to deal with. And for me, it was my granddaddy.
Oh, I never met mine.
And it was my granddaddy. Now I love my grandma. My grandmother's still here. And I love my grandmother, and she's going through dementia. So sometimes it's
Wow.
hard. That part of it is hard because I'm the one who was always on her hip.
Mhm.
Following her around in the kitchen when she's cooking and all that other stuff.
Mhm.
Going in the field with her when she's going to dig potatoes and stuff like that. Because I'm from Tabor
Wow.
City. And we had yams. So I was the one. And so when you walk in and she don't recognize who you are, it hurts. I've
Mm.
gotten to the place where I can go now and leave without being in tears because I realize that
Wow.
my grandmother is still there.
Mhm.
But what I see is just the kind of the shell of her.
Mhm.
But my grandfather, and you don't hear that a lot, he was the rock. So when he passed, it's like the family kind of
Separate.
separated
That's how it is with my
because he
grandmother.
was the one, and he was a man of few words.
Mm.
All week long, Daddy, and I call him Daddy. Daddy would sit in that chair and look at his TV, and you come in, hey, Daddy, hey. Now if you needed something, you asked him, he'll give it to you, and he has his words of wisdom that he would, speak. When he had something to say, he would say it.
Mhm.
But he mostly sat there. He had very few words to say, but when he did say something, it was said with authority and power.
And he meant it.
And he meant it.
Mm.
And it was my grandfather.
Mm.
And when he passed, it hurt.
Yes.
It hurt. And it hurt our whole foundation of our family.
That's how it was with my grandmother. I haven't been to a family reunion in 10 years.
Me neither. And we even stopped having gatherings
Mhm.
that we used to have
Yeah.
because he's not there.
Yeah. We haven't had a gathering, family reunion, nothing. I mean, we used to go to family reunion at least 2, 3 times a year. Nothing. Half the family probably don't even speak. When grandmother left, it's like the pillar just fell.
And that's the way it is in our
Just
family.
fell.
And nobody can find that common ground again. And grandma, in the condition she's in,
Yeah.
mama, um, you know, she's not able to hold, so everybody's just
Doing their own thing.
doing their own
Yeah,
thing.
and that's sad.
But again, we didn't ask for that.
Mm-mm.
But that's the hand we were dealt.
Dealt. And we just got to play it the way it is. Because my mom tell me all the time, you ought to get together and, try to get a family reunion. And I'm looking at her like, I'm not calling no people. What I'm going to say to them? I don't know. That was
Yeah.
grandma's job.
Yeah.
So, but I feel that it's something that's needed. Everybody need to get together, talk things out, see what's really going on.
Yeah.
Because we're family.
We're
At the end of
family.
the day, we're family.
And what we'll find, what I believe that will happen, and it's the same thing, I can say it, I'm saying it to you, but I'm meaning it, it's for me as well. But I think what would happen if you were to get and take the initiative to get everybody together. Everybody may not come, but those who are supposed to be there will be there.
Will be there.
And we'll find out that there's a lot of hurt. And we say it all the time, hurt people hurt people.
That's right.
So there's a lot of hurt and unsaid things. And if you can ever have a conversation, the healing can start.
Yeah. We know what really happened. I mean, it could be something as small as a little argument that we had and we haven't spoken in 10 years.
Or you walked in the room and you saw me and you didn't speak to me, but you don't realize that day I had just had to go through and deal with this situation. This just happened before I came in. That just happened, and I knew when I left here I had to face this. It wasn't that I didn't see you. My mind wasn't there.
Matter of fact, funny that you said that. I just told my daughter that the other day. She's in college. She's going to Francis Marion for nursing.
Oh.
And I asked her about a conversation with someone that she was supposed to call. And she was like, no, Mama, I didn't call her. I sent her a text. And I said, no, baby. I said, don't just send a text. I said, if you have breath in your body, pick the phone up and you call that person. I said, because you never know what that person may be going through that day. And to hear your voice, or for you to even see them in public and you be the one that speak to them or give them that smile, may be the life of them.
Exactly.
So you never know how life changing you could be to somebody else. Even though I'm having a bad day, you won't know it because I still got to give you 110% of me.
Exactly.
Because I don't know who's watching me.
Exactly. You never know. And we say this a lot all the time, that we have to be careful, especially when we represent Christ.
Yeah.
We have to be careful how we conduct ourselves, how we carry ourselves. Because for some people, we are the only Bible that they'll ever read.
I've heard that as well.
We are, so we have to be ever so careful. Even when you're in the grocery store, when you're in Walmart, you have to be careful about how if the cashier, has an attitude, take a moment without flipping on it. And I used to be one of those that would go off like, excuse me, if you don't want to work here, then you could just go ahead and clock out, go home. Go home and get a job somewhere else. I was that person. Yes. I was that guest, that customer. And then I had to realize, you don't know, something may have just happened and her supervisor just yelled at her about something that she didn't even do. Or she may be facing, she maybe was late for work because of her child, couldn't find anybody to keep her child, and she's facing losing her job. So she may not be, and it's not about you.
Yeah.
She don't even know you. So how can it be about you?
Correct.
So I had to step back and I had to remember, and if that same person see me or happen to come by my church and come on a Sunday that I'm in the pulpit, do you think they're going to receive anything I got to say?
Nothing. Because they'll be like, didn't she just cuss me out last week? Or didn't she have a nasty attitude at me last week?
Exactly. So we have to be careful.
I was just told that on last Tuesday by my father. A lady almost got me on my character. He said, Don't let her bring you out of character. You're on Amazon.
Listen. And you have to be reminded.
That's right.
And it's good that you got those accountability people.
Yeah.
The people who will keep you in line and say, hold up.
Don't do that.
Remember who you are.
Don't do that. Don't let the person bring you out of character.
Listen.
Don't do that.
Nobody should have that much control over you to bring you out of character. And it's good that you have those people. I was quick to flip.
Yeah, quick.
I was quick. I would go up one side of you and down the other.
Quick.
And would have no problem.
None.
But then I had to realize, and then I can't very well tell my children, you don't act this way.
And they just saw you act like that Friday.
And they just see you act a monkey.
Yeah, you can't do it.
You can't do it.
You cannot do it.
You know?
You have to be mindful of who's always watching. That was something my grandma always told me. Make sure you mind your business. Make sure you're conducting yourself as a woman. Because not only if the people in the world are watching you, you have 6 sets of eyes that's watching you. And that was for my 3 children.
Yes. And you know what? So I just came. The reason maybe your mom said you should get everybody together, it may be because you were that close to your grandmother.
Ooh.
It may be because you soaked up so much from your grandmother.
Mm. I'm going to pray about it.
There you go.
I'm going to pray about it. And by the end of 2020, I'll let you know
Let me
how
know.
it turns out.
Let me know how that
I
turns
will.
out.
I'll let
Because
you know how
sometimes
that
it may
turns out.
just be a conversation. Like I said, if they can get together and everybody, whoever's supposed to be there, will be there.
Even if it's small as a dinner,
A
I'll let
dinner.
you know how that goes.
Yeah, and you just start the conversation. That might be. I may be wrong, but that might be why Mama suggests. Maybe you should get everybody together.
I'll give it a shot.
There you go.
I'll give it
All
a
right.
shot.
We're going to take another quick break because when we come back, we're going to get into this book.
Yes.
I want to talk
yes.
about this book and the hand you were dealt and how you dealt with the hand that you were given.
Got it.
So we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll be joined again still with my guest, Miss Adams. We'll be right back with the Michelle G. Show. Welcome back to the Michelle G. Show. Um, we have had a wonderful conversation with my guest, Miss Pam Adams. I'm calling her Pam Adams because you guys know, and I've admitted it on air, I'm not good with pronouncing names. And I didn't want to mess up her name, so I'm going to let her pronounce it like it's supposed to be pronounced in just a second. But we're getting ready to talk about her book, The Hand I Was Dealt. And I want to talk to her about what brought this book on, what was the ideal, the premise behind it, and what do you want people to get out of the book? Okay, so first, could you pronounce your name the way it's supposed to be pronounced?
Yes, my name is Pamela Adams. Everybody else is Pamela. So by me being the only child, I guess my mother wanted me to be different. So my name is Pamela, and it's Pameles, Adams. And the reason I wrote my book is because it was my purpose. God tested me with trials and tribulations because in my mind, I felt that he felt that I was strong enough to deal with those trials and tribulations. And if I was weak and timid and afraid of life, then I would have folded. But instead of folding, I wrote about it. So in my book, I'm praying that it touches one life, one male, one female. It don't have to reach 500. It don't have to reach 1,000. It's only going to take one lady or one young man to read that book and be like, wow, she saved me. Here I am, 21, and I wanted to propose to this young lady, but I don't feel that I'm ready yet. If she loves me, we can wait 2, 3, 4 more years and then go from there and see where we are. Even though that you're a single mother, 1 child, 2, maybe 3, that doesn't mean that your life has to end. With 3 kids going through a divorce, I graduated, I have an associate's degree in paralegal. I'm an author. I work for the state. What else? Trying to be my own boss.
Yeah.
All of that still fell into place, right on time, even though I had, went through a divorce. At the end of each chapter in my book, there's a prayer. And to me, the strongest prayer in there for me was when I lost my grandmother, how to mourn over the death of a loved one. So that book to me is going to reach and touch somebody's life. I'm expecting that phone call to be like, hey, can I meet with you because I want to talk to you about your book because your book saved me, or your book touched my life because, I just lost my grandmother and I thought I was headed for destruction. Yes, it's powerful. Very
Yes.
powerful.
And see, I just got my own personal copy,
Yes.
and I can't wait to read it. Because oftentimes, and I'll talk about a little bit more about it when we get into the baggage claim moment. You guys who watch the show know that I do that at the end of every show, and we'll get into that in just a moment. But was writing, I want to ask you a couple more questions if we have the time. Was writing this book therapeutic for you?
Sometimes it was. Sometimes it was sad. Even though I was writing about my life, something that I've already experienced, to actually write it down on paper, bring back tears, be like, darn, I went through that. Or darn, I had to deal with that. Or why that man didn't love me enough to stay married to me. Or why the Lord had to take my grandmother. So some of it was and some of it wasn't. But you have to be strong if that's what you want, the good outcome of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, some of your life stories can be hard, especially when you write it down and you see that you went through that trial or you've had to deal with that tribulation, yourself alone.
Yeah, and see, a lot of times people don't understand. Like when you do write, and this is what I found when God deals with me. Um, Writing, you have to be the first partaker.
Mhm.
You know, and this is coming from you, from
Mhm.
your heart, from
Mhm.
what you've dealt with.
Mhm.
So that's why I believe that it is a success.
Yes.
Already.
Yes.
Because you wrote it and it's going to reach who it has to reach. And I said, and I like the fact that you said what you said, if it reaches one person, because I say this all the time, and it's written, I think, in the beginning of my book that I wrote, it's written that this book wasn't meant to be long, but it's meant to be effective.
That's deep.
And I always say it's not meant for everybody, but
Right.
it's meant for somebody.
That's
And
right.
as long as it reaches the somebodies, then it served its purpose.
That's right.
And if it served its purpose, then God is getting the glory.
Amen. Amen. I think that's how I started my second book off, and it states, which will be coming out praying in March. My second book will be out in March. But it says that I'm a nobody trying to tell somebody something about how God saved me.
Yes.
That's my second book. So I look forward to y'all, getting a copy of that as well.
Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, and I can have you back on the show because I'm thinking about doing an author thing where I have a bunch of authors on,
That'd be
or may
perfect.
and have them come on the show. It won't be a lot, just give everybody a certain length of time,
Mhm.
when they come on and they talk about their new book or their latest book. But I'm really ready to read this book
Oh, it's exciting.
because it seems like it's gonna be one of those that's gonna make you think.
Yeah, you be like, darn, that girl went through all that? Really? She don't even look like it.
Yeah, and it's wonderful. And they say it as cliche, but they say it as cliche, but it's true. When you can look at somebody and you don't look like what you're being through.
That's right. That is right.
And I believe that came from, that wisdom of your
Oh
grandmama,
yes, bad mama jamma.
who let you know that you don't you hold your head up.
Yeah, walk like a lady, act like a lady, speak like a lady. And she always said, "Be seen and not heard." Did I say that correctly? Be seen and not heard. So don't be loud. They see you. You ain't got to be half naked. They see you. Just be yourself. You'll be just fine. And the one that need to see you, they'll see you.
See? And again, I say that grandma wisdom is all in you.
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes,
you got to keep on passing that on,
yes.
and the family still needs it.
We're gonna have that. We're gonna have that dinner. We're
The
gonna get it
family
together in
still needs
2020.
it. The family still needs it. One more thing about the book.
Yes, ma'am.
When when writing it, what was your, and a lot of times people don't, for me, I write late at night
Mhm.
or first thing in the morning
Mhm.
because that's when I either have quiet time or I get up and it's still quiet time, but that's when my mind is just, fresh.
Mhm.
Did you have to take, did you just write it straight through, or did you have to take time? Did you have a certain time you were able to write? What was your process in getting all of that out?
When I started writing the book, I would just jot down some things. I could be like Sunday, I was in church and I was just jotting down some notes. But jotting it down, and I would keep a tab. I remember a pastor used to tell me, write down your thoughts. Just write them down. Just write them down. And I wrote them down. And as time went on, about 2 years, well, going into 3 years ago, I moved to Arizona. And I was still just jotting down some stuff, jotting down some stuff. And then my grandbaby was born. And I was like, okay, well, I can't be all the way in Arizona, and my grandbaby is here in South Carolina. And so I came back to South Carolina, and I met this woman, didn't know from Adam, and I handed her my manuscript of just the notes that I've jotted down. She could have took it. She could have ran with it. She could have, wrote her own book because she's an author as well. And she could have did whatever she wanted to do with it. I handed it over to her. She came back the next day and she told me, this is what I can do for you, but this is what I'm going to also need you to do for me. So with me jotting down my stuff, what I already had, she helped lead me in the right direction of what you need to add in here. Let's talk about this. Let's see how the audience is going to, adapt to that, because everybody has dealt with something.
Yes.
So it took time. I mean, there's some people that make them just write a book or novel or whatever they want to be, a story, in a year, 2 months. But mine, it just took time because I guess I was worried about what people was going to say. Running. But God made it where you have to start running and you got to just go ahead and do what I have instilled in you.
And thank God that you were obedient and listened.
Yes, ma'am.
Because oftentimes we are our biggest hindrance, and we hinder ourselves because we're too worried about what people will say.
That's right.
Because when God gives you something, a lot of times it's bigger than what we can even imagine.
Yeah, we worried about how I'm going to pay for it, what people going to say, is it going to fail, who's going to show up.
I giggle because, yet again, the conversation we had before this is something that I've got that I know that God has given me to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm doing toward the end of the year. And I was worried. Yes, me, the elder, the host of the show, was worried about, okay, I need to get this done. I don't know how I'm going to do this. And my friend Darshan told me, you've got to start going by faith.
That's it.
You got to start trusting God
That's
and
it.
doing what, you said, now, okay, Father, you gave me this. Now you need to show me how you want me to do it. Show me, make provision for me to pay for it and all this. Because otherwise, I know me. I've been like, okay, it ain't time for me to do this yet. And I put it in a stack because I don't have the money. I can't do it all. And in my mind, if I can't do it all or have everything lined up right then, it's not meant for me to do.
That's a woman's thought. That's a woman's thought.
And then not knowing that, okay, you've done it for me before.
And I know
you're the same God today.
Yes.
Yesterday, tomorrow, and forevermore.
Yes.
So why can't I need to trust you,
Yes.
So when you said that, I giggled because I was just told that just before the show.
See, there go your confirmation.
And that's my confirmation.
There's
So
confirmation.
it's full force ahead. You guys will be seeing the announcement later on.
There
But,
it is.
a lot of times we do that. We do it to ourselves, and we stop ourselves from moving into what God has for us because we're worrying about people.
Yeah.
We're worrying about who's going to show up,
Yeah.
who's not going to show up, who's going to support, who's not going to support. But who's supposed to support will support.
That's right.
Who's supposed to be there will be there.
You're absolutely right.
And I say this about a lot of events that I have, even if it's 2 people in the room. Those 2 people, if their spirit is right and their vibe is right, it'll make it feel like the whole room is full.
That's it.
And now I know that that's how I have to look at this other thing that's going to be going on. That's how you got to look at your next book and everything else that you have coming up.
Yes.
So right now, I thank you for coming on the show.
Yes,
Time has gone by really quick. I'm going to take a moment and do the let you tell the audience, the listeners, where they can find your book and how they can follow you. And if you'll stay on stage, I'm going to do my baggage claim moment, and then we're going to close out, okay? If you can just go ahead and let them know.
All right, my book can be purchased on Amazon. Excuse me, Amazon.com. My social media is Pamela Adams on Facebook. You can hit me up on Facebook. We can meet. There's some that knows my telephone number. I'm not going to publicly give it out. Some hasn't, some don't. And what else you wanted me to tell them?
Do you have anything upcoming?
I do have a surprise that will be coming up in April. So if y'all will please stay tuned. I will be posting and sending out invitations. And I'm not scared. It's just in process. It's in process.
Thank you so
ma'am.
much for joining. You guys go to Amazon and find her book. I can't wait to start reading mine. I'm going to take this moment and I'm going to go ahead and do our baggage claim. I'm not going to pull from my baggage claim box today. because on the way up here, thinking about the show and the book that she had written, I felt like a good baggage claim to talk about is dealing with the hand you're dealt. A lot of times we can't control what we're given, whether it be, we definitely can't control the family we're born into. We can't control if we get a diagnosis from the doctor, whether you have to battle through cancer, battle through lupus, any kind of disease, battle through loss, a loss of a loved one, someone close to you. If you've had things that you've had to suffer through, even in growing up, and this is hitting on a kind of a personal note, if you had to go through abuse, if you had to go through being molested, those types, sometimes we can't control the hand we're dealt. But what I want to say to you is, you take that hand that you're dealt,
Right.
and you shuffle those cards, and you keep shuffling those cards, and then you ask God for guidance. Because remember, all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and who are called according to his purpose. So everything has a purpose. So if you're dealing with a diagnosis that you may not have long, or you've got a diagnosis of cancer, he's the great healer. He is the physician. So you take it to God. You take it to him. By his stripes you are healed. No, you didn't ask to be born into that family, but that's the hand you were dealt. So you love them because God told you to love, and ask God for wisdom on how to deal with them. If you had to go through a childhood or go through an adulthood where you were mishandled, misused, or abused, no, you didn't ask for that hand, but that's the hand that God saw fit for you to be dealt. So you shuffle those cards. And when you shuffle those cards and you look at them another time after you've had your conversation with God, you look at those cards again, then you'll see, okay, God, I got this hand because down the line I'm going to run into a young lady, or I'm going to run into a young man that had been touched when they didn't want to be touched, that got taken advantage of, that was abused. And because you brought me through it, I was dealt this hand because I can help them get through it. I can testify about what you did for me. No, we can't control the hand we're dealt, but we can shuffle those cards. And we can, and when I say shuffle those cards, I'm just using it as just, I guess for lack of a better word, just shuffling the cards, meaning pray, fast, seek God. That's when you shuffling your cards. Okay, God, you gave me this. This is what I have. I'm going to pray about this thing. You've shuffled your cards. Okay, God, this is what I got. Let me fast, because some things come through fasting and praying. Okay, God, that's shuffling your cards. So whatever hand you're dealt, you may not have asked for it, but that's what you have. Take that hand, shuffle your cards, and seek God. He'll get you through it. He'll deliver you from it. He'll heal you, all through the cards that you were dealt. And sometimes he may tell you, okay, daughter, okay, son, fold that hand. I got a new deck for you. Sometimes he may, like this old song says, learn when to hold them, learn when to fold them. Sometimes he may tell you to fold them and walk away. We cannot control the hand we're dealt sometimes. But learn to take the hand you're dealt, give it to God, and let him show you how to play your cards. Because when he's guiding you and showing you how to play your cards, he'll tell you when to throw down that ace. He'll tell you when to throw your deuce. He'll tell you when to get rid of that joker, because he wasn't supposed to be in the deck anyway. Listen to him. Listen to him. He's speaking. The signs are always there. We just don't always pay attention. You can't control the hand you're dealt, but you can learn how to play the cards if you seek God first. And I hope that helps somebody. That was my baggage claim for today. Thank you, guys. I'm going to again thank you for joining me, Miss Pam Adams. Go buy her book on Amazon, you guys. Follow her on her social media, on her Facebook page. Follow her. Thank you guys for joining me for my first show of 2020. And I'm going to leave you with the words that I always say. You may not be for everybody. Everybody's not going to get with you. and that's okay. You're not everybody's cup of tea, but you're definitely someone's special brew. Thank you, and join me next month on the Michelle G Show.